What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast, brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler and can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Monday, September 1st. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league. Kicking things off with the bad news is starting pitcher Edward Cabrera was placed on the 15-day IL with an elbow sprain, and that makes his last start make a lot more sense as he allowed 6 runs, 5 of which were earned in his most recent start. Cabrera's injury, as scary as it is also coming at a bad time as we are nearing the end of the season. So I feel like it's unlikely that Cabrera will return this season for the Marlins. That means Valente Beloso could shift from the bullpen to the rotation to replace Edward Cabrera. Next, we have second baseman Jonathan India, who was placed on the 10-day IL with a wrist sprain. Jonathan India has had an up-and-down season for the Royals, so with him out, it looks like Adam Frazier will probably see the majority of the playing time at second base for the Royals. Jack Caglione was activated from the 10-day IL in a corresponding move. He had been out with a hamstring strain and is likely to be on the strong side of a DH platoon. Caglione will also probably see some time at first base and in the corner outfield. We also saw catcher Carter Jensen selected from the minors. He's the Royals' number 2 prospect and the number 69 prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. And he's had a pretty solid year between AA and AAA. Jensen has batted .290 with 20 homers, 10 steals, and a 136 WRC+. But I don't expect him to see much playing time with both Salvador Perez and Luke Miley splitting time behind the plate. So maybe Jensen gets into the lineup via the DH spot. In terms of transactions, we have quite a few as the rosters expanded in the major leagues from 26 to 28 as they do every September. So every team had the opportunity to add a couple players to their major league roster. In most cases, it was a reliever and then a bench bat. So we'll start running through these, beginning with starting pitcher Andrew Alvarez, who was selected from the minors to make his MLB debut for the Nationals against the Marlins. Alvarez looked great, tossing 5 shutout innings, allowing just 1 hit and 2 walk while striking out 4. He induced 8 whiffs with 25% CSW across 81 pitches. His curveball was pretty dope in this one. Alvarez wasn't a super highly touted prospect, so pretty cool to see him find success in his first start. He'll get the Cubs in Chicago in his next outing. Next, we have first baseman Jake Berger, who was activated from the 10-day IL after dealing with a sprained wrist, and Berger is expected to be on the short side of a first base platoon with Rowdy Tellez in Texas. Next, we have outfielder Richie Palacios, who is activated from the 60-day IL. He's played just 1 game this year after dealing with a fractured finger, knee soreness, and a hamstring strain. Palacios started at DH for the Rays on Monday, and he could see time in the outfield versus righties as well, which will eat into Bob Seymour's playing time as Yandy Diaz is forced to play the field more often to open up the DH spot for Palacios and other hitters. Next, we have outfielder Victor Scott II, who was activated from the 10-day IL after dealing with an ankle sprain. He's expected to reclaim everyday center field duties. He didn't do it right away, but he should take playing time away from outfielder Nathan Church. Next, we have catcher Harry Ford, who was selected from the minors. He's the Mariners' number 4 prospect and the number 40 prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. Ford was the 12th overall pick in 2021 and has looked great at AAA this year, batting .283 with 16 homers, 7 steals, and a 125 WRC+. However, Ford, despite having such high prospect pedigree, probably won't play a lot, especially with Cal Raleigh pushing for the MVP of the Mariners and manning the catching position, as well as Mitch Garver being present on the roster as the backup catcher, and Jorge Polanco pretty much locked in at the DH spot. So Ford will get sparing playing time for the Mariners moving forward. Next, we have outfielder Jackson Merrill, who's activated from the 10-day IL after missing some time with an ankle sprain. Merrill didn't immediately return to the lineup, but he should take over every day in center field later this week for the Padres. Next, we have shortstop Joey Ortiz, who was activated from the 10-day IL. He missed just over the minimum time with a hamstring strain and will return to being the Brewers' everyday shortstop. With Ortiz returning, Andrew Monasterio will head to the bench in a utility infield role. Next, we have second baseman Hye-Seong Kim, who's activated from the 10-day IL after missing time with shoulder bursitis. Kim is expected to see the majority of playing time at second base for the Dodgers, which is likely to take away playing time from both Miguel Rojas and Alex Freeland. Next, we have second baseman Christian Moore, who's optioned to the minors. Moore was the Angels' top prospect earlier this year before he graduated off prospect list. He hasn't looked that great, and so the Angels will send him back to the minors, which will allow Luis Rengifo to get everyday playing time at the keystone position for the Angels, opening up third base for a platoon between Yohan Moncada and the newly activated Chris Taylor, who was activated from the 10-day IL after missing time with a fractured hand. Next, we have starting pitcher Luis Garcia, who was activated from the 60-day IL after missing the entire season with Tommy John surgery. He made his season debut against the Angels, tossing 6 innings, allowing 3 hits and 3 earned runs, walking nobody while striking out 6. Garcia induced 8 whiffs with 25% CSW across 79 pitches, and he'll get the Rangers in Texas up next. Next, we've got third baseman Sal Stewart, who's officially selected from the minors by the Reds. He's the Reds' number 1 prospect and the number 31 prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. Stewart was the 32nd overall pick in 2022 and has looked incredible between AA and AAA this year, batting .309 with 20 homers, 17 steals, and a 151 WRC+. Stewart started at first base in his debut. He was mainly a third baseman in the minors, but he could also see some time at second base with Matt McLain struggling. So Stewart likely to see time across the infield for the Reds. Next, we have outfielder Owen Casey, who was optioned to the minors by the Cubs. He struggled in his first taste of the minors. In a corresponding move, outfielder Kevin Alcantara was recalled from the minors. He's the Cubs' number 5 prospect and has batted .266 with 17 homers, 10 steals, and a 108 WRC+ at AAA, and is expected to fulfill a 4th outfielder role for the Cubs. The Cubs also signed first baseman Carlos Santana, who was recently released by the Guardians. He signed a major league contract with the Cubs, and he's expected to produce off the bench for the Cubs. Next, we have shortstop Ha-Seong Kim, who was also waived by his former team and was claimed from the Rays by the Braves. It's unclear if Kim will take away playing time from Gold Glove candidate Nick Allen at shortstop. I'm pretty sure Kim's currently on the injured list, but it's pretty crazy that Kim, who signed one of the largest contracts in Rays franchise history, didn't even last a full first season with the club. He dealt with injuries all year this year, and it looks like the Braves may have their 2026 shortstop in Ha-Seong Kim. Next, we have starting pitcher Luis Severino, who was dealing with an oblique strain and was activated from the 15-day IL. He's expected to start today in St. Louis. And lastly, relief pitcher Ryan Thompson, who's been out with a scapular strain for quite a while, was activated from the 15-day IL. Thompson could be the top candidate for saves in Arizona, as he's one of Torey Lovullo's favorite relief pitchers. That was a lot of transactions. Now we'll talk about some news, as starting pitcher Sawyer Gipson-Long is expected to be recalled from the minors to face off against the Mets in a start today. Next, we have starting pitcher Tyler Wells, who has missed the entire season after undergoing UCL revision and brace augmentation surgery. Wells is expected to be activated from the 60-day IL today to make his season debut in San Diego. Next, we have outfielder Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who is expected to be placed on the 10-day IL with a knee injury. Gurriel has been playing the outfield and DH, and I think Jordan Lawler is probably going to be the beneficiary of the most playing time in Arizona as the Diamondbacks move forward with alternative usage of the DH role. Lastly, we've got relief pitcher Jason Adam, who's expected to be placed on the 15-day IL with a quad tendon rupture. It looked pretty painful on the field as he went down and had to be carted off for the field. Adam is definitely done for the season, but it's unclear if he'll be able to return for the postseason. I'm guessing that will not be the case. Luckily, the Padres have one of the deepest bullpens in all of baseball, so they'll be able to survive this significant injury to Jason Adam. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Monday, a day in which we had just 13 games on the slate. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with second baseman Bryce Terang, who did all he could, but the Brewers lost to the Phillies. He went 2 for 3 with a run, a home run, an RBI, and 2 walks. It was his 17th homer of the year, and it traveled 433 feet at 107 miles per hour. Terang opened the season in his typical fashion, displaying elite defense at second base and somewhat empty speed on the base paths, meaning he didn't provide a lot of power or batting average, but something was brewing under the radar as he was hitting the ball harder, setting a new career high in max EV. The fruits of his improvements have blossomed in the second half as Turang has tapped into previously unseen levels of power, becoming a legit weapon atop the Brewers lineup. A batter that entered 2025 with a career 2.6% barrel rate and just 13 total homers, Turang has gone deep 11 times while batting .323 since the All-Star break, all while sporting an eye-catching 12.5% barrel rate and a 49% hard hit rate. This is a completely different hitter with 5 category production that could make Turang the top second baseman taken in next year's fantasy drafts. And lastly, we've got third baseman Jeremiah Jackson, who helped the Orioles to win in San Diego, going 3 for 5 with 2 runs, a home run, and an RBI. It was his third homer of the year, and it traveled 426 feet at 110 miles per hour. Once a top prospect for the Angels, struggles with strikeouts kept Jackson from ever reaching the majors with the Angels. 2 franchises later, and Jackson has figured something out with the Orioles and was promoted after the trade deadline. Since then, Jackson has hit the ground running and quickly moved into an everyday role, batting second and playing both third base and the outfield for the O's. Jackson's .337 batting average is propped up by an obviously unsustainable .429 BABIP, but there's still a lot to like about Jackson. First, this performance isn't really out of nowhere. He batted .377 with 11 homers and 9 steals, good for a .181 WRC plus at AAA prior to his call-up, flashing power, speed, and contact ability. Additionally, he's consistently hit the ball hard at the big league level, sporting a really good 50% hard hit rate and a decent 9% barrel rate. His power won't be off the charts, but hitting the ball hard with good speed makes Jackson a candidate to maintain an above average BABIP. Lastly, Jackson struck out in less than 25% of his plate appearances, which isn't otherworldly, but it points to him not being completely overwhelmed by more advanced pitching, which is something that he hinted at over the past couple seasons in the minors. Jackson is somebody worth taking a chance on in deeper leagues if you're looking for an offensive spark to push you through the finish line. But if you'd like more information on notable hitting performances from Monday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Luis Morales, who helped the A's to win in St. Louis, tossing 5 2/3 innings, allowing 5 hits and 2 earned runs while walking 1 and striking out 8. He induced 12 whiffs with 32% CSW across 91 pitches, and our backup streamer of the day came through, continuing what has been an incredible start to his MLB career. Through 6 appearances, including 5 starts, Morales sports a 1.59 ERA and a 27% strikeout rate. He found success once again on Monday, despite his high-octane fastball not doing its usual thing. Instead of inducing whiffs, the pitch was fouled off 15 times and taken for 9 called strikes. What propelled Morales on Monday were his secondaries, both his sweeper and changeup return strike rates of at least 70%, taking the pressure off his heater to live in the zone. Morales' breaker induced 6 whiffs with 52% CSW, while his slow ball returned a pair of whiffs and 27% CSW. Morales' secret weapon on Monday was a slider that showed up for 4 whiffs and 50% CSW, mostly used against righties. And with secondaries returning strikes and whiffs and a nearly unhittable fastball, the only thing that Morales is missing is a reliable third offering versus opposite-handed batters. Regardless, Morales continues to breeze through his starts, so we'll continue to roll with him in LA against the Angels next. And lastly, we've got Kai-Wei Tang, who helped the Giants to win in Colorado, tossing 5 1/3 innings, allowing 9 hits and 2 earned runs while walking nobody and striking out 8. He induced 17 whiffs with 35% CSW across 85 pitches and earned the King Cole as he led baseball with that 35% CSW on Monday. Tang had yet to parlay the newfound success he's had in the minors to the majors this year, and that was until he headed to Coors, of all places, where he tore up the Rockies lineup with his devastating sweeper. Facing a righty-heavy lineup, he turned to the pitch 48% of the time and then used it to induce 12 whiffs with 37% CSW, as he was mostly able to effectively locate it down and glove side. The success of Tang's breaker allowed his mediocre heater to play up in the zone, returning a trio of whiffs and 33% CSW, and that was all he really needed. But he did end up looping in a few curveballs for a pair of whiffs and 31% CSW, while poorly located sinkers prevented righties from getting overzealous hunting for four-seamers. I'll need to see Tang do this at least one more time before I start buying in, because he's yet to display this previously in the majors, and most of his AAA success came in a bullpen role. I'll be watching with keen interest from afar in St. Louis next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Monday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves, starting with the former. Jose Ferrer recorded his 5th save with a hitless 9th. Edwin Diaz pitched a perfect 4-out save, his 25th of the year. Aroldis Chapman recorded his 28th save with a perfect 9th. He's now got 16 straight outings and 46 straight batters without allowing a hit. Pretty impressive from Chapman. Jordan Leisure pitched a perfect 4-out save for his 5th of the year. Yohan Duran recorded his 25th save with a perfect 9th. Keegan Aiken pitched a scoreless 9th for his 4th save. And lastly, Sean Armstrong recorded his 6th save with a perfect 10th. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Emilio Pagan served up a pair of homers in the 9th to blow a 1-run lead and his 6th save, but the Reds bounced back with 3 runs in the bottom half to walk it off and take Pagan off the hook for the loss. Justin Topa allowed 2 runs, pitching the 8th up by 1 to blow his 3rd save and take his 4th loss. Abner Uribe surrendered 2 runs, pitching the 9th inning in a tie game, and he wound up taking his 2nd loss because of it. And lastly, Robert Suarez recorded 5 scoreless outs across the 7th and 8th, trailing with the Padres trailing by 1. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Tuesday, September 2nd, a day in which we'll have just 14 games on the slate. Our games have a late start on Tuesday as the first game will begin at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time. My matchup of the day is Max Fried versus Framber Valdez. This should be a great matchup. 2 southpaws squaring off against each other, pitching for 2 playoff-bound teams. Should be a fun game to watch. In terms of probable starters, we've got 6 guys in the auto starts tier, including both Fried and Valdez. We've also got Garrett Crochet versus the Guardians, Brian Wu in Tampa Bay, Shota Imanaga versus the Braves, and Nolan McLean in Detroit. Our probably starts tier has 5 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Cade Cavalli versus the Marlins. Cavalli's curveball is absolutely dope, and he gets a Marlins lineup that has definitely cooled down after looking really hot earlier in August. So Cavalli should be able to take down the lowly Marlins lineup. I'd also keep an eye out for Luis Severino in St. Louis. I know he's coming off the IL, but this is your best bet at a win or at the very least a quality start. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd look at Blue Jays and Reds hitters in Great American Ballpark. Great hitters ballpark. The pitching matchup will be Jose Barrios versus Nick Lodolo in that one. I'd also target Giants and Rockies hitters in Coors. Pretty self-explanatory. Best hitters ballpark in baseball. We'll see Logan Webb square off against Kyle Freeland. And lastly, I'll target Orioles and Padres hitters in Petco Park, and this is mostly because of the pitching matchup. Tyler Wells is returning from Tommy John surgery. I think the Padres should be able to pounce on him in his return. And Yu Darvish has sported a 5.66 ERA this season. He's been pretty up and down, pairing some gems with some disasters. I think the Orioles have a good shot at pouncing on Yu Darvish. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Aroldis Chapman has pitched on back-to-back days, so Garrett Whitlock is probably your best bet at a save, but maybe Justin Slayton gets a shot for the Red Sox on Tuesday. Jordan Leisure has pitched in 3 of the past 4 days, and Steven Wilson has gone back-to-back, so Mike Vassell or Grant Taylor probably your best bet at a save coming out of the White Sox. Sean Armstrong has pitched back-to-back days and in 3 of the past 4, so Phil Maton or Robert Garcia probably gets called upon in the 9th for the Rangers in the save situation. And lastly, Jose Ferrer has gone back-to-back, so Cole Henry should be the temporary closer for the Nationals on Tuesday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.